My Craftsman riding mower. This is the T210. Now they're called the T2200, T2200K. Pretty much any 42-inch MTD modern mower is about the same as this. And you can tell by the tire here I was recently cutting wet grass with it, which caused the first part's failure. There should be a belt in those pulleys. Instead, it's in my hand and cut in half. The original factory belt, I was hoping to eke out the rest of this season with it, but 5 years, 140 hours of use, it was time for it to go. And as fate would have it, I actually recorded it breaking completely by accident. I was trying to get the sounds of my Kohler engine chugging through the thick wet grass when this happened. Normally, I don't cut wet grass, especially thick wet grass, but hey, I get a new belt. And I went for the official Craftsman replacement belt that apparently you can't get anymore. I found this on eBay. Lowe's now carries the Sunbeam, which is made in India. This one made in North America, Mexico. And this will be my first time installing a belt on this mower, really any part other than just standard service parts. So here we go. Now a note here, heat index 105, and I picked right before the sun's going to creep in and start bothering us. That will factor in. Let's get the deck out, my holder upper removed, and then I'll lower the deck all the way down. This will give me room to work. There are 4 clips that I will need to remove, 2 on the back. This is one of the 2. My method, grab, pull, twist, and yank. And then I pull the control arm or support arm, whatever this is called. I pull that out of the way and then I just let it dangle. Then I do the exact same thing on the other side, which I filmed, but my iPhone overheated. Remember that 105 index I was talking about? Yeah. Next, the front. I take that clip off, I remove the supporting arm, and I note its orientation. Then I go back to that deck height adjuster and I raise it all the way to the top. Here you can see what I'm doing. I'm raising it up to get those bars out of the way. Then there's one last clip. There's a cable coming from the back. It's the PTO to engage the blades. I need to slide the deck out as far as I can get it. Here's what I'm working with. This is as far as I can get it out, and you can see that little black protrusion there, and then you can see that clip. That's the clip that needs to be removed so I can remove the cable and the spring. Other than the awkward position, this is the easiest of the 4 clips to remove because it's going into plastic, so it pops off pretty easy. Side quest. I start spinning on the idler pulleys because I have noticed a sound that I suspected was coming from one of those, and it is that idler pulley right there. I'll replace it at the 150 service. Showtime. Now it's time to remove the deck to get to the actual belt changer, well, to get to the last steps before the belt change. And to remove it, it's best to just lift up on the back and then use the wheel rollers to guide the deck. That minimizes dragging it across concrete. And then I get my first good look at the top. And you can see where my arms reach when I clean it. There's definitely a dirtier section in the middle, but you know, it's really not bad. And here's what I'm talking about with the pulleys, the sound difference. Listen to this one. Definitely on borrowed time, the spindle pulley sticker for future use. There's still more to remove though. If I'm going to get a new belt on, I have to get these covers off. They're easy to remove with a 5/16 socket. I've actually had these off a couple of times. I knew my belt was wearing because it was stretching. It came off a couple of times, hence the previous removal. And note, these aren't just covers, they're also a belt guide. People run without these, they need to be on. And this is the part where I'm me, I clean the parts I can't normally get to. And then a closer inspection, damage is going to happen. These are kind of thin decks and you can see something came up there and dented from the underside, chipped the paint. Still not rusting because I store it inside. So I'm looking for any other spots, anything else I haven't noticed. Overall, this deck's still looking really good for 5 years old. And while I do clean on it, you know, the first few years I picked up sticks, now I just mow over everything. Which means things like that happen. No rust, so that's good. But let's look at the underside and see what that looks like, because I use the deck washport religiously, but when the belt broke, I had all this thick caked up grass on here and I could only reach from one side with the water hose, so you can clearly see the areas where it's caked up on one side versus the other where I could easily reach. But overall, yeah, the deck washport's definitely working, and look at that, no visible rust. And there's about to be no visible clumps of grass because I went to town on this thing. Scraping by hand, paying close attention to the spindles, those little vent grooves or air cooling grooves, whatever they are, I cleaned them. And I got so overzealous with my blower, I almost blew away screws. The end result, I mean, just look at this. There is no rust. That's a good looking deck. I scraped it with this. That is a bicycle tire lever. Turns out it worked perfect, doesn't damage the deck, gets rid of grass. And while I'm under here, I'm taking a look at these blades. These are copperhead blades. I ordered Gator last time. They sent copperhead. These have been on here at least 2 years. Normally I do every season. They're showing somewhere, but I have new blades that'll be going on in 10 hours. For now, all this is looking good. Here's a view. You rarely see the underside of one of these, so I'm taking a look while I'm down here. This is looking good too. Just one more step and I can put the belt on. I need to loosen the idler pulleys, a 9/16 on the bottom, 9/16 on top. I'm not removing, I'm just loosening. And you can see there are two guides here. You need to note the position of those, make sure they don't move around. And the reason I'm loosening, you see, I have room to get the belt in. The same thing on the other one, just loose enough to get it wobbly, get some clearance, and now it's belt time. Now, everyone has a different method here. The important thing to remember is that the tapered side goes into the spindles, the flat side goes around the idler pulleys. And you can see how easy that is with the idler pulleys loose. That's why you don't want to bend on those tabs, and those tabs are also retainers, so definitely don't bend on those if you can avoid it. But the taper inside around the spindle, then flat side around the idler pulley, and then everything goes forward. And that, per the diagram, is how this goes. And I think Squidward's nose, Squidward's eyes. A flat straight run on the back, and this belt is properly installed on the deck. Now I just need to tighten up those idler pulleys. Remember, I loosened them. There is a torque value for this. I like torque values 21 to 25 foot-pounds. I set my torque wrench to 22. iPhone overheated again, but I just bolted those back on. It's just 3 screws. If you got them off, you can get them back on. But inspect them for cracks, because believe it or not, these are considered a wear item. Now, I think those cracks are just scratches in the paint, but eventually they will crack and need replaced. They're like $8 each. And we're almost ready to get this put back in, but first we need to take off one more thing. Around the pulley that gets all this going, the one on the engine, there's another belt guide that needs to be removed with a 5/16 socket. There are no washers, no nut, anything like that to worry with. This just bolts straight in. And it just presses in on the other side, so I just pull it down, let it drop free. And now I'm on the downhill run. I just need to slide the deck back up under the mower, but not all the way, because I need to put that PTO cable back in place, which is practically impossible to show when you're filming by yourself. But it can only go in one way. There's a plastic clip, and then there's the spring. Give yourself some slack, and there's just one hole for the spring to go in, and that's it. Unless you make the mistake that I just made, a tiny oversight that will be a big deal, because after I get the deck in, I have to redo it. Remember that clip that goes in there? Yeah, forgot to put it in. Assuming that is done properly the first time, I'm at the part where I now lower the deck bars so I can line them up and pin those in, which is super easy when I use a wood block to prop up the back of the deck. It aligns everything up, then I can pin it all in place. I do the same thing again on the other side, and then I remove the wood block. Next, I slip the belt onto the front pulley, the one that comes off the engine, and I reinstall that guide that I removed. There is a left and a right. The left, if you're sitting on the mower, it goes in that front hole. It just pushes in. On the right, I replaced that bolt I took out earlier. I don't use a torque spec on this, just good and tight, but not overly tight. The end result, a perfectly positioned guide. Final attachment point, that bar I removed earlier, it just pushes in on my mower from the left side. Using my last clip, it's all in place. A quick pre-run test to make sure everything raises and lowers and stays in place as it should. It's all looking good. And then I engage the blades, working perfectly. And that, my friends, is a complete belt install on the Craftsman T210, T2200, any of the similar MTD variants. I got over 5 years off that factory belt before it gave up the ghost. Hopefully this one will last as long. Time will tell, but they're certainly easy to replace. If I hadn't filmed this, I could have done it in about 15 minutes. No specialty tools required, though the next time I do this, I probably won't be able to get a Craftsman belt, so we'll see what happens then. Until then, I'm still running my factory lights. Look at that. Until then, that's my belt install. Craftsman T210. Comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.